You're not gonna make it. No, you ain't gonna make it. You're not gonna make it, but you can. Welcome to You're Not Gonna Make It, the show where I discuss threats that may prevent you from making it. I'm Kevin. The concept of the carnivore diet is dumb, isn't it? And relax yourself. I'm going to talk about other diets too, because this episode is about fad diets. But I do want to mention the carnivore diet up front, mostly because of the excuse and the reasoning that these people want to bring up. This is how our ancestors ate. They ate meat all the time. Bro, are you fucking stupid? You know how hard it was to catch an animal that could provide meat for a whole family or village? Our ancestors were eating fucking nuts and berries most of the time. They were eating fucking leaves. That's why we have so many molars in the back of our mouths, because we're used to grinding on nuts and stuff like that. If you look at a real carnivore, cat or dog, look inside their mouth. A lot of pointy teeth. Not like us. So no, our ancestors did not eat a bunch of meat all the time. Maybe if they caught a mammoth or something. But anyway, fad diets in general are usually meant for weight loss or improving your health by going on a very restrictive food plan that is not always backed up by science. The issue with fad diets as a whole is that they're not sustainable. They do often work, but temporarily, because you got to do this weird, wild, very different eating pattern, but you can't hold on to that forever. It's too odd for a human to do. I'm sure you've heard of many of them: a keto diet, paleo diet, Atkins diet, carnivore diet, like I said, blah, 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 blah. Now, like I said, some of these actually do help, but not in their pure form. If you want to take one of these, you're going to have to modify it to fit an actual human living a long time. As in, if you're doing a carnivore type diet, you can't literally just eat meat. You can eat a bunch of meat, hopefully not American meat, and then supplement it with other stuff too. You can get away with that. But literally just meat and butter or whatever it is, you're fucked. Your heart is going to explode in 15 years tops. Same for a lot of other diets. They eliminate a lot of stuff that you actually would benefit from a lot and would help you a lot more in your goal of the weight loss or the health increase. Apparently, an estimated 45 million Americans go on a diet every year. Half of them choosing fad diets. Now, a diet is literally what you eat. It's not going on a certain meal plan or anything like that. It is a diet describes the things that you eat. So I personally recommend, instead of going on a diet, just change yours so it's better. That way you can choose what you like and what's sustainable for you, instead of doing some other weird shit that's not really meant for your specific body type or goals or whatever it is. Now, out of these 45 million Americans who go on these fad diets, they're usually doing it for rapid weight loss, self-esteem issues, body image issues, or just trying to copy a celebrity or influencer or some other famous person. Consistently, though, fad diets do not work in the long term. They can lead to nutritional issues, hormone issues, and probably dying early. Now, most people who fall prey to these diets are, like I said, young people, usually young people. They're middle-aged people too, who are like, oh, that celebrity looks fit. They said they do this, and then I'm going to do that. Celebrities lie a lot. I don't know if you know this, but most celebrities are actors, and acting is literally lying for a living. So when you see interviews of very muscular actors and you're like, yeah, man, to get into this shape, I had to eat a lot of chicken and broccoli and rice, not mentioning the steroids. And that's not to say chicken, broccoli, and rice are a bad combo. It's actually pretty damn decent. But point is, don't listen to a celebrity. Don't take their words at face value, because they're doing other shit, doing steroids, doing facelift stuff, doing lipo, doing weight loss drugs as well. So they might be eating what they're saying, but they're not telling you the whole picture. So they're selling you a false image of what can happen. Sometimes they're just making money. There's this company or is pushing this particular product or diet, whatever it is, and they just pay the celebrity and they just say, hey man, this is great. And people fall for it because they're like, oh, I like that guy in the movie. Yeah, I'll listen to him. Okay. That won't end well necessarily. People who fall prey to this are also people with limited nutritional knowledge, which is most people, especially Americans, they don't really know shit. No offense. That's just how the education system is. It'd be cool if in school they taught you more about nutrition, finances, useful stuff like that. That'd be really cool. Like for me, I fucking thought that counting calories was a woman thing because I didn't learn about nutrition in school. I just saw commercials about women eating 100-calorie bags of snacks. I'm like, oh, that's for women. I would have lost 100 pounds way faster if I had proper knowledge of nutrition. But most people don't. So they fall for these things like, oh, just eat literally only beef liver. Yeah, sure. And the biggest victims, usually of the fad diet, are people with low self-esteem, body image issues. They're desperate at that point. They just really want to try what might work. And I don't really blame them. When you're very overweight, you want to accomplish something. It's very easy to latch onto something that claims to be the solution. I remember back when I was losing weight before I figured out how to count my fucking calories. You ever heard of the 1 gallon of, what is it called? Gallon of milk a day, the GOMAD diet? I don't think I fully went into that, but I definitely went through a period where I was exercising and drinking a shit ton of milk, whole milk. Turns out that was bad because milk has a lot of calories. And also American cows are steroided out to hell. But I didn't know any better. My parents didn't either because they would have told me the right thing to do. But I didn't, they didn't, so that's where it fell. And that's a trap that a lot of people fall into. They just hook onto something because they're desperate, they really want this, but it's not always the best for their goals. Or any goals, sometimes. Might be different for other states or other countries. Actually, I'm sure that's the case for other countries. They have better nutritional education, but at least in New York, lower New York, where I grew up, nutrition wasn't a huge part of health class. I don't even remember anything really about that. It's possible I'm not remembering, but there was nothing useful because I was an obese teenager, so obviously it wasn't that useful if anything about nutrition was taught. I know in Japan that they have actually healthy school lunches, and I believe after a certain age, whatever company you work for, they really encourage the employees to be fit because if they go beyond a certain waistline, they got to pay more, something like that. But I know in Japan, they're very encouraged to not be fat and to just overall make better choices, right? Now, let me give you some numbers. Apparently, 80% of New Year's resolutions, many of which involve weight loss and fad diets, fail by February. By the time you're hearing this, 80% of people, probably more, have just given up. The cynic in me wants to think that it's actually 92% of people who give up their New Year's resolutions, but I'm glad it's just 80. And like I mentioned up at the top, 50% of 45 million Americans who diet every single year use fad diets. So not only are millions dieting, which means making a massive change to their eating habits instead of just changing the eating habits gradually into something sustainable, they're just jumping onto something else. Half of them are doing something extra wild that's trendy or supposed to be over a very short period of time, not for life. So that's not cool. Now, often fad diets lead to, as I mentioned before, they do work, but only short term. And the reason is because the person who goes on a diet, their normal everyday diet is probably dog shit. So any change at the beginning is probably helpful for them. But oftentimes, a lot of the weight loss in the beginning comes from water weight, or they're losing some muscle mass because what they're probably doing with their restrictive diet is eating a lot less. And I don't know if you know this, but when you lose a lot of weight, not only do you lose fat, but you do lose a bit of muscle as well. This is unavoidable. The only way you can avoid losing muscle as you're losing weight is by losing weight very slowly and trying your fucking damnedest to stay as strong as possible. But even then, statistically, you will lose a bit of muscle if you lose weight. That's just how it is. The weight includes fat and muscle and water and all that shit. Now, one of the funnier examples for me about the fad diet stuff is the gluten-free diet, followed by people who don't have celiac disease, which is the whole point of avoiding gluten. You have that disease and gluten is going to fuck you up. A lot of people think, oh man, I see gluten-free everywhere. Let me try that. That must be healthier. It's free of whatever that is, so it's probably better. If you don't have celiac disease, gluten-free stuff, it shouldn't really be a consideration. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to make a big deal. It's another example of people jumping on a fad. Right now, it's not such a big deal, the gluten-free thing, but I don't know, 5 years ago, in like 2020 around, maybe like a bit actually pre-COVID, that was a big deal. Oh, gluten-free. Yeah. Get it if you want, but if you don't have that specific disease, it's not really for you. Just keep that in mind. Now, at the end of these things, I usually bring up some solutions to the topic at hand. This one's pretty fucking easy. How to save yourself, how to survive a fad diet. Don't go on them. Like I mentioned before, don't say, hey, here's this X blank diet. Let me hop on that and then automatically make progress. No. Decide what your goal is. What do you want to lose weight? You want to get stronger? You want to have more stamina? Whatever it is. Slowly change your current diet so that it includes more things that bring you towards that goal. For example, if you're trying to build a shit ton of muscle, yeah, you're going to probably aim for a more high protein diet. If you're trying to lose a bunch of weight, the diet will probably consist of you paying attention to your foods and choosing the lower calorie foods or lower calorie portions. If you're someone who has a hard time taking a shit, you probably want to add a lot of fiber in your diet. Stuff like that. Stuff that's practical and towards an actual goal that you're trying to reach. Not, oh, look, a pre-made diet for God knows who. Let's get on it. That doesn't make any sense. That's fucking stupid. Your diet as a whole has to include some of kind of everything, if possible. Like I mentioned before, if you're trying to gain muscle, for example, like a lot of muscle, you would prioritize protein, of course, but you're not going to ignore carbohydrates. You're not going to ignore fats. You need all that shit. You need all that. They all serve different functions. You need them all. You need all this kind of stuff. You need to eat some kind of vegetables. You need fiber in general. Like, you need all this stuff. It's just a matter of what you're trying to accomplish, including what you actually need for your body. And you change the amounts, the proportions to make it work for you. But do it slowly. Don't just jump on some fad, or else it's not going to last. Fad diet, more like fat diet. And speaking of, be very wary of diets who claim, oh, you'll lose weight super fast on this diet. There's no diet that inherently makes you lose weight more or faster than any other one, because the weight gain and weight loss comes from calories. So you can just drink only milk like a weirdo. You can eat only vegetables. You can eat only meat. It's about the calories, and it's always about the calories. Now, obviously, some foods have lower calories, so it's easier to eat more of that and not eat in excess of calories. But there's no one particular diet that's inherently easier and faster to lose weight on. That's not how food works. That's not how energy works. And I know a lot of doctors want you to get on drugs rather than change your life too much. But if you ask them, they can tell you, hey, based on my last blood test, I'm not low in this, like, what should I eat? They can help a bit with that. And you can even help yourself. Take your blood results, look at it, see what you're low in, what you're high in, whatever it is. Ask the internet, hey, for someone who's low in iron, what should I eat? More sourdough bread, by the way, in that case. My point with this is your health matters, not just what your goal is. Your health overall should be your goal. So you got to keep up top in terms of knowledge with your actual health too, like your blood tests, your other ailments and stuff. Basically, keep in mind your long-term health and not your short-term pleasure, health, goals, whatever. If you have a goal, you're going to change your whole way of eating just because you want to accomplish something in about 6 weeks. Drop that shit immediately. Think on a way longer scale, maybe 6 decades instead of 6 weeks, and then slowly adjust your eating to the most optimal to get there. And yeah, it's got to be slow. Some people can just switch wildly, but most people would benefit from just taking it slowly. Because when you introduce slow changes, it's easier to adapt to them. If you make a bunch of big changes in the short term, it's not going to last because it's just too different. It's just, you're not that person. You need to slowly become that person. You need to build that person. So yeah, basically, if you think long term, you'll live long term. In short, don't be dumb. Write in the comments, what is a fad diet that you've tried before? Like I said, I was almost touching on the go mad, gallon of milk a day before, but yeah, that didn't work out for many reasons. Let me know yours, and I'll see you next time.